dark night in the legal world. Famed defense attorney Johnny Cochran is dead after battling an inoperable brain tumor.
It's no disguise. It makes no sense. It doesn't fit. If it doesn't fit, you must acquit.
How many nights did I personally give Johnny H-E double hell over that? Tonight, in Boston, defense attorney and Harvard law professor, my colleague Alan Dershowitz. In Massachusetts, from the Innocence Project, joining us soon, Barry Scheck. In Santa Maria, California, investigative reporter Art Harris with The Insider. Also with us, Inside Edition's senior correspondent, Jim Moret. Welcome to everyone. I'm going to first go to Art Harris. Art, you covered the OJ Simpson trial, inside and outside. You covered Johnny Cochran's every move. What can you tell us tonight?
Nancy, he was a giant. He was such a human, compassionate man who could go into a trial of murderers, rapists, no matter who he had, and come out with a clean heart and a clean suit and a clean soul. This was someone who was a master at sizing up a jury and playing it for what he needed. In the Simpson case, who else could have gone into a case where you had a client whose DNA was placed at a double murder scene and win an acquittal? He was a master at exploiting and using the media and deputizing the public in the age of 24-hour cable in a way that no lawyer has ever done. And he wrote the playbook that has been used in so many criminal defenses since then. In Blake, in Jackson, you're hearing conspiracy. You remember the 3 C's: contamination, corruption, conspiracy. How many echoes do we hear of Johnny Cochran's strategy that was raised in the OJ Simpson days? It has made legal history, Nancy.
I want to go to my colleague and normally my sparring partner, Alan Dershowitz, Harvard law professor. Alan, do you recall when you first started working on the so-called dream team?
Well, it wasn't a dream. At that point, it was a nightmare. Nobody was getting along with anybody. And along came Johnny Cochran, and he really brought everybody together. I mean, Art mentioned the playbook. Actually, all the lawyers today are doing it very differently. They're all lone rangers. They think they can do it by themselves. But Johnny was great because he knew what he didn't know. He knew that he was not a law lawyer. He was a fact lawyer.
That's a good way to put it, Alan. That's a good way to put it, Alan.
He was perfectly willing to use other lawyers and to take a back seat when it came to DNA, to Barry Scheck, when it came to legal arguments, to me and Jerry Ullman. He knew what he knew, and he knew what he didn't know. And a lot of the lawyers today don't want to share the limelight, and they are losing important issues. Even today in the Jackson case, those issues should have been argued by a Jerry Ullman, not by the fact lawyer or the man who's going to present the case to the jury. So
that's a rare quality, because most lawyers think they know everything. They really do.
And Johnny knew he did.
And when it comes to saving a client, or in my case, prosecuting, saving the state's case, you've got to hand over to experts. But I got to tell you, he did the same thing in the Sean Puff Daddy Combs case, remember?
Right.
He got Ben Brofman, he got a crew on board, he created a dream team, got another acquittal. Hey, take a listen to this, Alan. What about Mark Furman?
Well, Mark Furman, I think the same thing. I mean, you have to be consistent in the situation.
Mark Furman, you think it's okay for him to make a book?
Mark Furman has the right to publish that book. He's done it. It became #1. I don't agree with anything he had to say, but he's a perjurer.
Can you imagine, Alan, Johnny and I arguing? You know, he helped me get my first TV job. Johnny Cochran, he and I sat, bad hair for me. He, of course, always looked great. Alan, Johnny and I sat on a panel of so-called legal experts here in New York many, many years ago, 1996, Alan. And he was the big guy. Remember, he had just won the Simpson trial. I was nobody from nowhere, slogging away trying shoplifting cases, and he was this big star. And we sat on this panel together, Alan. We got into a huge fight. Me, Johnny Cochran, and Roy Black, who was fresh off the William Kennedy Smith win. But it was in good nature. We had the best time arguing. Next thing I know, Cochran and Grace was launched on Court TV. If it hadn't been for Johnny, I may still be trying shopliftings right now.
He was the most generous person. He shared everything. I'll give you an example. Everybody gave him credit for the limerick, if it doesn't fit, you must acquit. But Jerry Ullman made that up, and he always gave credit to Jerry Ullman. He said, hey, I know when to borrow things from smarter people. He always gave credit where credit was due. He gave credit to Barry Scheck for the DNA. He gave credit to me for some of the legal arguments. He always shared credit. He was a generous person.
You know, I want to go to Jim Murray, who's also with us tonight. Jim, you and Art as well, Art Harris, covered the OJ Simpson trial from the get-go. You spent a lot of time with Cochran. Thoughts?
I spent a lot of time with him not only during the O.J. Simpson days, but even earlier in my days as a local Los Angeles reporter. Johnny Cochran was, as Mr. Dershowitz said, he was very generous of his time, and he was very gracious. And he, as Alan mentioned earlier, he would give credit to others, but the key with Johnny Cochran was in the delivery. You know, he delivered that line, if it doesn't fit, you must acquit. He had a level of elegance and class.
It was all in the delivery.
All in the delivery. But there was substance there too. He wasn't just flash, although he dressed impeccably.
Oh God,
and
what
he
about
was as
those
well known for
ties?
his
ties
and his rainbow color suits. But you know what? He had the substance to back it up. And he surrounded himself with people, as Alan says, that were his equals or greater in other fields. And he shared the spotlight, but he really deserved the attention and the accolades. And I think he got the respect, frankly, from fellow attorneys throughout the country as well as in Los Angeles.
It took me a while because every time I looked at him, I blamed him for the double murder. That's hard to do when it's your co-anchor.
No, I know that.
But he won my...
I would see the two of you spar quite a bit.
He won my respect. Before then, defense attorneys, I wouldn't give them the time of day. But from Cochran, I learned why juries were so fascinated. Take a listen to this, Jim.
Sure.
Some crimes aren't solved, others is a smoking gun, there's some other theory. I mean, they're saying to you, look, we have problems here.
Maybe the DNA was not as strong as he wished, but when you get a 1 in 100 matchup as opposed to 1 in a million, and you combine that matchup,
who says you're going to get that?
And you combine that to all the other circumstantial evidence you have, you might have a pretty good case.
That's wishful thinking.
You know, another thing to Art Harris, in our building over at Court TV, Art, he was just as much of a gentleman to the cleaning people as to the assistant producers, the floor people, his co-anchors, as he was to his boss. And you know another thing, Art, as much as I gave him heck day in, day out, we fought just most recently about the Michael Jackson case. We were arguing about that like two wet cats in a barrel on Larry King one night. When his wife would walk in the room, Dale, he would light up. And you know, he was very forward-thinking about women in the workplace. You know, his wife is a businesswoman, and he supported her being a businesswoman. And of course, he was the big star, Art, in Cochran and Grace. There was no doubt about that. But you know, he never once rubbed it in. Never.
And he never looked down at all on you, Nancy. He treated you as such an equal.
He did.
He was gracious in and out of the courtroom. And in the courtroom, he actually did what you do, which I saw you do in Atlanta often in front of a jury. You preached. He preached to the jury, and much the way you see one of these great preachers on a Sunday morning. And it was amazing. You would watch them nod. He was with them. They were with him. And he just had this sixth sense. They liked him. And as you know, you liked him. There was not anybody who didn't like Johnny Cochran. And to echo Alan Dershowitz, who was so brilliant as part of this dream team, everyone looked up to Johnny. He was the quarterback. He called the plays. And to have that much brain power and that much ego in one room and still to have it work flawlessly was something to behold, Nancy.
Well, I'll tell you, one guy he could really snow over, always the judge. Somehow, I don't care what case it was, The judge always believed everything Cochran said. I don't care what case, from OJ Simpson to Geronimo Pratt, one of his prize cases. He got a murder case reversed. Incredible lawyer. Tonight, I'm very sad to report the death of my colleague, Johnny Cochran. Please stay with us.